Right, well, nice to see everyone. Thank you for coming to see us. I think this is a popular session, so we appreciate it. We've already introduced everyone on the stage today, so in the interest of time, I'll jump right in. And what I wanted to start off the session with was giving everybody a chance to talk about how they got into Web3 and a very succinct one line about the vision of their organization. So we can start from left to right and
we'll go through.
Stephen?
Yeah, pleasure to be here, everybody. My name is Stephen Leaton. I'm Head of Experiences and Environments at Boson Protocol. My route into the blockchain and Web3 space was via the academic route. And Boson Protocol, we've built this revolutionary technology that can be applied to commerce. And it's a decentralized commerce protocol. And it creates a more fair, equitable exchange between buyers and sellers, and then it obviously introduces new paradigms for brand-consumer relationships and things like that. So a lot of application is therefore available to the fashion industry.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everybody. Nice to be here. My name is Steffi. I'm an ex-model, so when I was very young, I used to model. Then I'm the founder of Cassiopeia Services. I spent 10 years in financial market, and in 2018, I started to focus more on crypto. Obviously, Web3 and NFTs has been my focus in the last couple of years. We work with different clients, and one of the companies that I advise is IO, which is the company that built the Cardano blockchain.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be on stage and be in London today. I started my career in fashion, actually, Stefania, 20 years ago as a model, long time ago. But then I spent 10 years at Louis Vuitton in Paris, starting from marketing, managing the store, and going to the executive level. And last 5 years of my career, I was based in London as an executive managing retail development for Alexander McQueen. Recently, I've established my own company where I merged people, talents, and technology by helping to transform the businesses and embed metaverse, NFT, and suggest new opportunity for the clients where they can meet the products, doesn't matter where they're located, in e-com, metaverse, or physical stores.
Hi everyone, my name is Amandine. I'm CEO and co-founder of Closet, which is a Web3 native personal space to dress our new digital identity, helping women to express themselves and reveal themselves by leveraging fashion. Hence my presence today in a Web3 conference. And prior to Closet, I worked also 8 years in fashion, retail, and digital at both Dior and Chanel. And I partner with the Jan Rogers team at LVMH to design 360 and meaningful client experiences through dedicated clienteling assets and application. And I also worked a lot on AI and data science projects, leveraging algorithm and predictive model to really deliver the ultimate phygital and omnichannel client experience, but always within the luxury fashion environment.
Thank you. Fascinating to hear how you all made your way into Web3. And actually, there's a lot of similarities between us. And I was in fashion for 16 years and recently left the high street and started exploring Web3 myself and work across music and fashion. I think it's a really exciting space to be in. I think we can all agree that the creativity and the opportunity for expression is immense. And that, coupled with ownership, I think gives everybody so much to go after and really change a lot of industries. So on that topic, I mean, what are your takes on how blockchain and the fashion industry come together?
Okay, I can go
first.
So I think that if we look at fashion, clothes are a way of expressing ourselves, visually communicating our taste, our interests. So it's a very powerful way of expressing ourselves. And then we have the emergence of internet, who has created a new way of presenting ourselves to the rest of the world through screens, shaping a new concept called digital identity. So we have examples of apps such as Instagram filters or Facetune application, which are great tools designed to enhance this digital identity, right? But at the time, fashion brand, they didn't engage. And I think that blockchain actually catalyzes a long overdue transition for fashion brands by giving them the right tool to finally move from the fabric to the pixels. And I think those two tools are the inalterability first, because by design crypto assets, they can't be damaged, they can't be copied, they can't be destroyed, you know, which is really different from a Dior physical dress. And it gives them an inherent value that make them kind of similar to shares of the company. So the relationship between the consuming and the creative part is really revolutionized, I would say, and I think it will bring many new forms of engagement in the future. And the second aspect, I think, is the interoperability, because by nature, blockchain are public and they really have this foundation of interoperability. So I'm convinced it will bring many innovation into the sector and break some kind of silos. Because until today, most of the fashion luxury brands, they have preferred to act individually to protect their environment, to really control the image. And it's quite unsuitable, actually, to the Web3 Interoperability Foundation. So I'm convinced it will really help to bring innovation and turn the fashion industry into a much more consumer-centric one.
I think it's funny because fashion is a kind of like a very old-fashioned industry, and crypto completely revolutionized it. So blockchain is very valuable, especially for traceability across the supply chain, but also for authentication. That's where blockchain can play a really big role in trying to fight counterfeiting. I think we have seen, obviously, NFT driving this revolution in fashion, which open up a new kind of customers for brand, a new way to consume fashion in the metaverse. But what I think is going to be really exciting in the years coming up is really about digital identities. So fashion is about communication, is about self-expression, is about identity. So from now, I think that we are going to see a shift from digital ownership to digital identity. So I'm quite excited about it.
Yeah.
Excellent answers. Anybody else want to weigh in on that one? Thoughts?
No, again, just to complement what you've both been saying as well, that these digital environments, these digital lives aren't they're an extension. It's not, here's my real life, here's my digital self. They're an extension, and more our lives are becoming digital. The digital transformation of society is taking place. The pandemic has sadly accelerated that. But I think we need to look at it as an extension of ourselves. And so the psychology of belonging, the psychology of identity, how we choose to express ourselves in the real world is all based on society and culture and a sense of identity. And so that also transfers into these digital environments. And for the same reason we choose to appear a certain way in the physical world, we now have the opportunity to appear and belong and have a sense of identity in the digital world. So I think it's important to look at it as an extension rather than two environments that run in parallel almost.
So in that spirit, this is a spontaneous question, but a very easy one. How do each of you express yourself in the metaverse? What's your chosen pseudonymous platform or identity?
Okay, I can start. Looking at me, so I'm like, okay, I need to go. I think actually there are different kind of metaverses, because you have a way to present yourself on Instagram, which will be very different from LinkedIn or Twitter or Discord. So I think depending on which kind of metaverses you are in, because there are also kind of metaverses, you present yourself differently.
Okay, so you're not one pseudonymous entity, because some people are one across all platforms and some people have a more flexible approach. What about?
Yeah, what about me? Very good question, actually. And I was asking myself, like, how do I need to present myself? Because in the professional world, I'm a businesswoman who is working with a top-level giant companies. On my personal life, I love yoga, I love coaching, kids, etc. So how do you actually merge that together? And on Instagram, I came that I don't have time to have 3 profiles, so I just merge it in one, and it depends on if I'm on vacation. So that will be what my life is currently is. And now I'm here, so I try to actually get closer to the gap between physical reality and expression into the digital world, because I think for the psychological reason, it's easier when then you meet people and you have the same impression rather than you will meet and oh, okay, that was nothing to do. But however, as Amandine said, we need to, it's like different channels, right? So we have, as we have physical stores, e-com and metaverse, and it depends if we go to the party, how we will dress, and depends when we're in a conference, on when we are in the office with the top management. So the same, it's a reflection of the reality, basically. That is the closest, the gap of how we can express ourselves.
I guess as professionals in this space, I don't know about you, but I feel like there isn't a pressure to adapt and present yourself in a certain way, but you certainly, you end up on calls where everyone represents basically an entire zoo, if I'm being honest. And then other calls where you're speaking to legal firms, and obviously you have to be your professional self.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really interesting dynamic in this space, but plays on largely what you've referenced, which is that personal identity and what is your identity in this space. And there's a lot of value placed on privacy and expression.
Yeah.
That's almost like a secondary expression from yourself. And what about you two? Are you
I think, Ksenia, you just brought up a very important point, because as we are experiencing the virtual world and the metaverse, we can be whatever we want, depending on the community that we associate with, the metaverse that we are going to go into. We can just be another person. So going forward, it won't be just one person, just as one identity. Will be a multi-identity, and there will be different kind of metaverses that you can enter. There won't be just one, then win it all. Yeah. And I think that's very exciting. Obviously, there is a big challenge, which you mentioned also, is about interoperability. At the moment, these metaverse, they all work in silo, and they are trying to be more interoperable, but we are not there yet. So I think there is a lot still to go, but I think that's kind of like where we are trying to go, really a space where we can be more free, and we can have multiple identity as we want. We can even be married in the metaverse with another person that is in the real.
It's happened.
In the real life.
My friend who is investment banking, she works, and she said, "Oh my God, I just had a meeting, and I realized myself that the way that I speak is like a boss. If I would meet this man in another environment, I would probably not speak in the same way." You know?
Yeah.
Very true. Okay, so back to the schedule. Next question, we're going to talk about business models and what blockchain enables and smart contracts in fashion. So Stephen, given that you're the whole face of that, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the metaverse, is it a social platform? Is it a gaming platform? It's, you know, there's no one metaverse, there's multiple. There won't be one company, even though Facebook is going for Meta. There are multiple 3D environments that are arriving. And as I mentioned, more time than ever is being spent in these online worlds. They're all avatar based at the moment. So when we're talking about how do we represent ourselves online, whilst you have more creative freedom, it's anonymous and you can play around a bit. It's still 2 arms, 2 legs in the metaverse, and in human form as well. So digital fashion can really translate over. So the new business models are based on, yes, if I wish to represent myself based on a cultural belonging or alignment with the brand, I would like to do that in the metaverse. And so if we think about this natural trajectory, we've gone from the physical high street, then we've gone to 2D e-commerce websites. We are now going into 3D worlds. It is a matter of fact. People are congregating in these worlds more than ever. Fortnite made $50 million off of one digital skin. And so the brands are then starting to realize that people wish to dress themselves a certain way inside these worlds. And so there's money to be made. So digital fashion is here now. That in itself is a business model. Web3, when it comes to Boson protocol, it's a new way of interacting. So Web 2, the buyer and the seller interact via centralized intermediaries. You trust buying things off of Amazon, you trust buying things off Alibaba because you trust Amazon. And they're starting to abuse that position of power that they have. Web 3 allows the buyers and the sellers to interact on-chain. This is fully permanent, immutable, transparent, and it can be tokenized. So commerce now has a new paradigm where it can be gamified, tradable, programmable. And so you can buy an NFT And this NFT is a digital certificate, a digital voucher that can be redeemed for digital fashion, physical fashion, artwork, experiences, whatever you would like. And so I think what we'll start to see are these brands, the big global marquee brands, your new NFT projects, all the way down to independent creators and sellers. The relationship with their audience can become fully owned and fully decentralized, so that you and your audience are connecting directly peer-to-peer, and then the transactional element can become fairer, more equitable, without these extractionary intermediaries enabling the service. So when people come together and congregate for a certain reason, it informs new culture, culture informs new content, and that gives rise to new commerce. And right now we are seeing the congregation of people, new digital cultures are emerging, and then infrastructure plays like Boson Protocol enable the culture plays, the creative plays to take place and connect directly to the audience.
What I would just add on that, I think most of the fashion brands now, obviously they are experimenting on Ethereum and Polygon just because the NFT infrastructure, that's where kind of they started first. Obviously Polygon offer cheaper fees, much better user experience. But I think we are going to see more and more chain do NFT drops. That's where perhaps Cardano is trying to place itself. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what is going to happen. There is so much that from a technical perspective also has to develop.
So I'd like to get a sense, actually, in the audience, how many of you own an NFT? Okay, it's pretty
Not
good.
bad.
It's not bad. I ask that at most conferences lately, and sometimes I speak at company strategy days, and the answer is 0.
Oh.
But I would imagine because you're here, you have some level of interest. And how many of you have a fashion NFT?
Okay.
Okay.
Is that Dolce Gabbana box?
And to the previous people who own NFTs, is it a PFP? Is it a digital piece of artwork with an NFT? Is that what you?
Well, maybe we can get that in the Q&A because they can't.
Yeah, there we are.
They could yell, but it would probably be a bit awkward.
Can I add?
Yeah, you can.
this one,
Well, you're
right?
next, actually.
Yeah, because for me, as been working in Paris, in London, in Dubai, I see that the business model will be adapted quite differently depending on geographical context and then depending on the brand values of the companies. If we will take in luxury fashion between LV, Hermès, Goyard, Balenciaga, one, it will fit to their strategy quite naturally. That's what is because their target audience is Gen Z and above, right? Versus others which are going to still prefer to have physical contact. So the speed will be quite different. Then the revolution usually takes time, especially in luxury fashion. Omnichannel I launched 2015 and it took almost 10 years, thanks God, COVID arrived to help to accelerate it. Otherwise, I think it will take at least 5-10 years more. But we cannot deny anymore that 5% of sales in the revenue will be dedicated to virtual goods in the next 2 to 5 years.
Okay, so you think 5%, because that
Yeah.
was my next question, is what do you think the relative size of this is now?
Yeah.
There's obviously disproportionate hype to commercial value. So do you think
Yeah.
5 will be
I think
the
in
steady
the next,
state?
3-5 years it will. And,
Okay.
and the numbers are showing that the virtual market has been doubled since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So it will progress. However, to NFT, we see that there is a slowdown, right? So the role that the NFT play is slightly different. Finally, what we can see that all the technology were more customer-centric. What I think is coming from the big companies, what is missing now, it's the operational integration that needs to be implemented and embedded inside the companies. It cannot just stay on the upper level. We really need to go deep. And now, before the departments would just retail, supply chain, e-com will function separately. So what is needed to conquer metaverse and to place the client in the center of the 3D metaverse, e-com, and physical stores is actually to break down those silos and to merge them together, that finally that we can use all the big data and the information about the clients to take the decision commonly and to drive it. And then the next what will come is the seamless client experience, right?
In an ideal world, yeah. I mean, so many businesses I've been involved in are still in the transformation phase, just trying to connect channels and get a grip on the core data of the business, right? So we have quite a journey ahead of us. But I think it's exciting to see that there's an appetite and businesses are investing in joining up this entire suite of technology, because there is a lot more new information that you can get from users, wallets, behaviors that I think is quite fascinating. If you dig into some of the analytics platforms like Dune Analytics, you can do quite a lot. Stefania, what do you think from a kind of business model perspective, and what are you seeing through your organization?
Stefania?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, me.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. I think there will, as I said earlier, many innovation will bring up. We don't know yet what will be exactly the metaverse, but definitely many things will happen. And as we speak about interoperability, about the fact that also I think brands really need to think from a much more consumer-centric view, as you said. As an example, no one is mono-branded. Everyone likes to mix and match. That's basically the basis of fashion, right? But the thing is, today, when a brand is speaking to a consumer, they prefer to ignore the other brands. So if you go to a Dior shop, they will never speak about your Chanel bag or your Louis Vuitton dress because they don't want to see them. And if they want to be much more consumer-centric, they will need to stop ignoring this and really take into account the preferences of the consumer and be very, very good at how does the consumer want to be perceived. Because they are always sharing. You know, in Web3, you can have a much more self-designed concept of identity. So I think the brands that will be really good are the one that will be really able to analyze carefully how does this consumer want to be perceived and treated, and also offer much more personalized and immersive experiences.
So do you see people already purchasing multiple brands and then taking that asset or artifact and bringing that into the metaverse in a mixed form?
Yeah.
How common is that at the moment?
Like in real life, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you like different brands, you like different style, depending on the mood of the day. You want to have not for your dress, but you know, you want to be different every day, depending on your mood, on where you're going, who you are meeting, and I think it will be the same in the metaverse because
Absolutely.
people have different kind of personalities or aspects of their own personality, and I think when a brand is addressing a client, they should also take that into account and not only focus on their own message, you know?
Yeah, but I think that the metaverse and Web3 are giving really the opportunity to kind of push the boundaries of fashion and perhaps work more on collaboration with different kind of industry, because it's about a co-creation. That's all it is about Web3. So even the NFT that you experience is not just a bag that you wear. There is much more. So, you know, more collaboration with different industry. I think is very interesting what is happening right now. So it is about experience at the end of the day.
Yeah. We see it already as well. If you look at your kind of traditional luxury brands, your Gucci, your Louis Vuitton, they all collaborated with the next wave of culturally relevant brands, the North Face, the Supreme. And we're already seeing these NFT projects are trying to become, or are becoming, kind of lifestyle brands. There's a lot of clothes coming out of them. And we're seeing this next generation of culturally relevant identities are arriving, and these luxury brands, I can't name them, but there's new collaborations coming, there is new products coming. They're both digital and physical, and it involves this crossover of real world and metaverse experience, product, lifestyle, more creative possibilities in the digital world. We're not bound by
that 80% by, I think I read 2030, will be connected to 5G.
Yeah.
So finally, all the magic mirrors, the connected hangers that we were implementing in retail with a lot of investments, a lot of time, it doesn't rise conversion rate. It doesn't do anything on the client engagement. So finally, we will invest now into something which is demanded by the client.
Yeah. I think final point from myself, on the business models and things like that, at a very high level, blockchain will allow the companies visible on the blockchain. We know that people want to spend their cryptocurrency, and so there's a new community, a new population of people, and there's a lot of them have a lot of money, and so there's a new customer base there. And then finally, NFTs is just that connecting token. It opens up a new paradigm of phygital experiences, phygital fashion, and more creative possibilities.
Just a couple of more things. I think fashion is going to become more accessible to everybody in Web3. And the other thing is about the ability, perhaps driven by gaming, to actually earn money. So we see play to earn, where to earn, but there will be really ways for people to participate in fashion and also make money in the metaverse, which is very different than what we are seeing right now, where some brands, they are very exclusive, and not everybody can get a Chanel handbag, but you might be able to get into a Chanel experience even without spending so much money. So I think that's quite exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of the NFT prices, though, are still a little bit steep for my taste.
But we're still in a bear market.
I'm thinking, why? So, I mean, on that note, we've talked a lot about how the metaverse, NFTs, fashion, it's a huge expression enabler. So outside of that, because I think that's a well understood use case, what do you think would be a motivator for a consumer to buy a fashion NFT? What would be a secondary use case that you see kind of emerging? You can all answer, because I feel like you all have a view on it. Yeah.
Secondary sales is a big one. So the provenance chain can also exist. So some of the brands that I've just mentioned, they're not even being worn. They're just getting bought and instantly being put onto the secondary market. Now, if from the point of sale, the brand releases the physical asset, the digital asset, and the NFT as the token of authenticity and ownership that links it, because it's digital, it can become programmable. And so you buy from a brand, and when you put it onto the secondary market, the brand can take a percentage of that secondary sale, third sale, fourth sale. If you have a piece of artwork, and you have to take it to the art house to sell it, because they have to say that this is a real Banksy, for example, and that they authenticate the asset on this follow-up market. The NFT completely stops that. I don't know what word to use. It's a complete change there, and so this is a real luxury item because I have the item and I have the NFT, and when I sell it to you, you get the item, you get the NFT, you sell it on, and it just goes down the chain. Because it's programmable, the brands can always have a percentage of that secondary sale. From a consumer perspective, why would I wish to buy the NFT? It's because it can unlock utility, privileges, superpowers, and that can all be programmed in retrospectively. So a lot of these digital artwork NFT holders in the audience, what you're getting with that NFT might still yet to be realized. There might be new downloads, new content, new unlockables, real world experiences, metaverse experiences, funding projects. NFTs can be looked at as a community-led seed round where you can fund the project from its inception, almost like a Kickstarter program or a GoFundMe. But because you have that NFT, you're entitled to benefits, royalties, privileges later on down the line.
I think one point on the secondary market, I just think as we are seeing the secondary market is booming, and really blockchain and the ability to verify that an item is authentic is really going to be so valuable. Think about how much money and resources can be saved. For instance, with Vestiaire Collective or the Real. There are a hub, but they just focus on authentication or luxury good. We could get rid of all of that if we implement blockchain technology. And finally, there is the confidence for the consumers to kind of be able to sell and knowing also be able to transmit that authentication. Something very interesting about identity of NFTs is also, or identity of a physical item, is also to understand the history of this item. Think about a bag that was a special edition made by Dolce & Gabbana for Rihanna, let's say. Nowadays, down to the supply chain, you basically don't know that, because once it's resold, for instance, on the Real, you will never know that that bag was created for that kind of occasion. I think we will be able to see that kind of transparency going forward. So one item can really conserve a very important value thanks to blockchain technology.
Okay, real quick from you two.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
very quickly. So I think that fashion is very well placed and is next to the art. So why they will buy it, the consumers, they will buy it for the self-expression. for the status. The same as in the real world. No one needs another dress, no one needs another bag. It is just the status and closing some psychological needs. And there are two mainly utilities. So it is loyalty program, basically how for the companies you use it. It gives you an access to another NFT, or it gives you an access to early buy or avant-première, that's something you will get it because you have an NFT. So you can get the product, which is just for selected clientele, only for the local clients, etc., etc. And another one is, as there is a lot of craftsmanship, history, so materials, production. So that gives you an access to all that information, and then, again, solve the problems with the authenticity and counterfeits. Because back to 2 years ago, I would still receive emails that from the stores, please, can we check if we are not sure that this is a real item for the returns, etc. So that erased completely the problems with overstock, resale, plus the companies can take the royalties. And I believe that's why probably another reason that I moved from big fashion corporations. We produce way more that we need to consume. And I think really the world doesn't need that much anymore of the production and overstock, and we cannot never achieve 100% sell-through. With NFT, that allows to go quicker and to suggest and satisfy the needs of the clients and the company.
Okay, last answer, and actually we have just enough time left for questions.
What I wanted to add, because you've said already a lot of things, I think what is super important to me here is that there is really a new sense of ownership thanks to NFT. And before, when you had a fashion product, let's say the amazing Versace dress that you're wearing, it doesn't grant any other benefit from the consumer except personal satisfaction, right? And the more the dress is worn and used, the more its value decreased. But here with NFT, it totally changed the dynamic of the relationship, because the client actually turns into an investor and a brand ambassador, because the consumer wealth will be impacted by the popularity of the brand, which is absolutely not the case in today's world. So this new, this realignment, I would say, of interest between client, investor, brand ambassador will have a lot of impact on how the brand engage with the client. And I mean, it's really the time to rethink about what being a client means. Technologically speaking, economically speaking, culturally speaking, like it has a lot of impact. And I think it's we have a longer story ahead of us between blockchain and fashion.
Yeah, I think
amazing.
The point that you raised was that it's the creative arts, it's music, it's fashion, it's traditional art. Often the creator creates something, it goes off into the public domain, and they're detached from it, and it goes up in value, fantastic. It has more cultural relevance, fantastic. But they don't necessarily get to see that return. Now, when you create something and you create the NFT, the two go off together, and you can forever keep a portion of your original creation. So I think the creative arts as a whole, music, fashion, artwork, all will benefit from blockchain, NFTs as a.
Sorry, I have to open it up for questions.
Yeah,
so
sure.
one last comment.
Well, I would just wanted to pick up on something you said about brand ambassador, because I think even the influencers model is going to change completely. And actually, we are going to see the community become influencers, or being able to help the brand rather than have some kind of random celebrity that don't even like the brand and just get paid lots of money just to represent Versace. I think that unlock the opportunity for anybody that is in the space to actually take an active role.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely ownership, creator economy, Venn diagram, and you can see that entire space completely changing. Thank you all so much. I think your answers are really inspirational, and I can see how engaged you all are in the space, and it's a really exciting time. I just want to open it up for questions. I don't know how this Q&A works. Oh, okay, you get a mic. There we go.
Well, firstly, I agree. It was a really good panel and so many great comments. And I think everyone in the room is probably thrilled, if not frothing, with the thinking, which is completely unburstable. But, here's the but. The fashion industry is like really old school. There is so
Yes.
conservative. I mean, things haven't really changed. I mean, e-commerce has come, but it's about 100 years old. And so my question is, having tried a little bit myself to try and engage with some of the more higher-end fashion brands, I just feel it's like banging your head against a brick wall. Is there going to be a revolution in the brands? Like someone mentioned Supreme. It's an insane concept, Supreme, but that was a revolution in its own little tiny space. Is it possible that there is a huge yearning gap for new brands to take on this stuff and completely decimate the market that exists as it is?
I will take that one. I'll take that one. You're absolutely right. So 15 years at Louis Vuitton and LVMH and Kering allowed me to sit in depth. And I was in the store, and I remember I was launching mobile payment in Saint-Germain-des-Prés in Paris, and staff would tell me, I used to take it and write it by hand. And plus, from top to bottom, we need to understand the CEOs, they're just managing the seats, but they're moving around. The same happening from top to bottom. On the sales associate level, they move from Chanel to Dior. It's still the same. So it's very difficult to embed something. But, as I mentioned, I think the world is pushing to this. Yeah. So we can't anymore say no to this because of COVID has arrived. Omnichannel was launched 10 years ago at LV. And Kering have big brands, but they just arrived now to this point. So my point is we cannot drag them. And it's true that usually all the newness, they adapted lately. However, with metaverse and NFT, as it is very close to art, I believe that and social media is developing, and we see that in Dubai, everyone lives, for example, in Middle East, in social media. So they live less in reality. So it's kind of the consumer is dragging that, and the company will have to respond to this. Yeah. There is no escape anymore from that.
I think I agree. It's really for surviving, because the people experiencing fashion now, at some point they are going to die. And if you don't get into the new generation, then you are going to fall behind. Most of the companies, they are listed on stock exchange, so they need to keep up revenue. But I still think the tradition will stay. So I don't think everybody, I think the physical and the tradition will stay as always is.
60% of the clients, they still want to try physical products before buying in luxury. Yeah. So that will keep. What will change, which is how we sell it. So now the sales associate will sell it not only in a physical store, they already do sell it through e-com. Hero, for example, we launched it, and we were launching that. From the store, you can sell to e-com, and you're showing the item, you're trying on the item. And the same will go to the metaverse. So basically, you do it in a 3-dimension, keeping 3 of them, just the proportion, depending on the branch, will be slightly different.
Yeah. And if I could just add a super small thing, I think that, fashion by its nature has to be on the forefront of cultural evolution to stay relevant, because fashion is about novelty, creativity, and it's basically the job of fashion brand to seize the spirit of the moment and make sure they are not behind times, hence the expression out of fashion. So I think that if they want to stay relevant, they will have to embrace the new crypto ethos. Otherwise, this technological revolution could actually turn into an existential threat for them. Yeah. I think you're right.
If I do quick points, Web 1 to Web 2 took 10 years. We're just at the beginning of Web 3. Digital transformation is not going to take place overnight. There is a transitional period. I just came back from a conference at the States. Their payment infrastructure is archaic still. It's bonkers. And we think fintech is here and it's revolutionized what we're doing. And I've never it's archaic over there still.
America's definitely behind.
Different regions will transform at different rates.
Next question. You got a very thorough answer, by the way. Well done.
4 answers there.
I have about 100,000 different questions, but I think the most pertinent one is I'm struggling to identify who your target customer is, because there are lots of different customers within fashion. There's the status signalers who are never going to buy something and wear it online. There are the young people who can't afford to make investment NFT pieces. And so I don't, who's this for?
It depends on different brands, have different audiences in the real world. different brands will have different audiences in these new worlds. There's a marketplace partner that we have, and for it's the CEO, their child, 10 years old, got £100 for their birthday, straight on Fortnite. The pounds became V-Bucks. The V-Bucks bought a digital outfit, and then they're just dancing in Fortnite with their new digital clothes. So it's because it's culturally relevant to the audience that they're on. Again, this conference I was just at, the other example they gave, their child's doing washing up at the weekend. And with that pocket money, they're going straight into these online games, and they're transferring their physical value, real world value into digital value, because that's the culturally relevant environment to them. I haven't bought any digital fashion. I don't really buy too much fashion in the real world. And so I think it's just what is your sense of belonging? What is your cultural fit, and how it applies to you? So I don't think there is one brand. I don't think there's one environment. I don't think there's one customer. Different relationships based on different cultural identities.
And don't forget, everybody is testing at the moment. So it's not they have made a decision. They are testing. Adidas is doing something, Nike is doing something else. And they are learning where we can get more revenue. What is driving fashion right now is money. Everybody goes where the money comes. So they are testing to see where I can make money, because those are businesses, they want to stay long. They don't want to die, and they see something is changing, so they want to go where the money are and try if they can capture value in different kind of ways. This is what I think, because money is always driven decision, really.
I think we're out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Really nice and great audience.